live.
All right, we're live. We're live on Zoom, Dr. Branch.
On your smartphone or on their Facebook page. Thank you for listening to Harmony Missionary Baptist Church.
We're live on
Tune in
Facebook.
every Sunday
We're live
morning
on
for
Facebook.
Morning Mana at 7 a.m. and Sunday evening at 6 p.m. on KEST 1450 and on the web at kestradio.com.
Amen. Hello to everyone out there in KEST radio land at KEST.com. That's 1450 on your AM dial. My name is Curtis O. Robinson Sr., the senior pastor of the Faith Church here in Oakland, California. That will be Central East Oakland, California, to be very specific. And we'd like to welcome you to the One More Time radio broadcast that is sponsored by the Harmony Missionary Baptist Church of Oakland, California, where the Dr. A.L. Perkins is the senior pastor there. Now, he normally does that. I understand what you're saying, but he has some ministry duties to attend to at this time, and he will be joining us later. But as you know, he is Batman, and I am Robin, and we are the dynamic duo. We do work as a team, and we just thank the Lord for us. I am happy because I've heard this pastor preach before. When the Bible talks about how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel, right? The gospel of peace, of good tidings, the symbolism of it, it fits Dr. Branch because where he goes and because of the word that he preaches, we know that there's going to be some spiritual beauty, there's going to be some intellectual beauty, and really because of the kind of guy he is, it's going to be some secular beauty going on too. So what I'd like to do is just introduce to everyone out there our dynamic host, the one, the only Dr. E.L. Branch. Dr. Branch, how are you today?
Hey, I am doing absolutely wonderful, and I'm just delighted to be a part of this radio broadcast ministry and share on Zoom. This is exciting, and we're in the middle of this pandemic, but I'm just watching how God is working and how God is expanding all of us, who are laboring in the areas of ministry. It's just a blessing to be here.
That is tremendous. I really appreciate you being on here. When Dr. Perkins was saying who was going to come, I was like, oh yeah, man, it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. So Dr. Branch, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Now, I know you started preaching at the age of 16. I don't know how far back you want to go, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
But hey, I think that's back far enough. I think. Yeah, but I began in ministry, very early, in my teen years and all of that, and it's just been just a blessing of God, as we have given of ourselves, to the work of ministry and the pastorate and all the rest. But being, raised in the church and having a family that was rooted in the church, all of that certainly influenced my life, and I'm able to celebrate today, just the whole journey and where the Lord has brought us from, and what the Lord has allowed us to experience and to do in ministry, through all of these years. And so my life is just on the celebration mode,
Okay.
So this is good. This is good.
So you say life is on a celebration mode. Talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to talk about this pandemic stuff. But
I preached a little bit earlier today, and I talked about this whole matter of possessing joy. I teach Bible classes on Thursday evening, and right now we are, doing the book of Philippians, and I entitled it, Finding Your Place of Joy. And so and that really epitomizes, what I talk about in terms of being in a celebration mode. It's just being at your place of joy, where you do understand what it means to have a spirit of celebration, a spirit of joyfulness, and to be deliberate about that, and unapologetic, about the fact that you have the joy of the
That's
Lord in
yeah,
your life,
yeah.
and so that's what I mean by the spirit of celebration, because every day and every hour is a celebration for me.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. So, Dr. Branch, tell us, how have you been navigating this COVID-19 experience that the world has been watching?
Uh, uh, well, I'll put it like this: you want the bad news first, or you want the good news?
I want the bad news first. I always want the bad news first. Get it out the way.
Well, well, hey, see, the main thing though about the bad news, it isn't really that bad, but the bad
Okay, yeah.
news is that I'm a traveler and I like to see the world.
Yes.
This is what I, thrive on. I have those moments, where I just, need to get to another part of the world and to
Yeah.
experience some things, and so the bad news is that it's just that I'm not traveling the way that I'm used to,
Mm.
and the way that I had planned to. I had to cancel, many of, well, really all of my trips and everything, and so the pandemic has kind of taken that from me in that regard, and so that's why
Yeah.
I say that hey, that's one side of it, but the other side of it is that we're still here, and that
Yes.
despite the fact that we know that hundreds of thousands of folk have been taken away from us by this virus, and so the fact that we're still here is uh, is just a blessing of God, because we all recognize that we could have been gone as well, and so we're not
Yes.
worshiping in our sanctuaries. We're not. I mean, we can't shake hands with our friends. We can't give a hug to the bereaved. I mean, all of the things that we are accustomed to doing. We can't even give a high
Hmm.
five,
Yeah.
and any of that. So it takes some things away, but look at what it does for us. It teaches us some things. It teaches us, how to connect. I mean, here we are, doing something that we probably would not be doing were it not for the
Right.
for
Right.
the pandemic. You and I may not be having this discussion
Right.
tonight were it
Right.
not
And that
for
would be worse.
yeah.
Thank you for, thank you, God, for this
Yeah,
moment. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And so
Yeah.
we have to be grateful, and so many churches and pastors across this country and the world, for that matter, are now holding worship services and are reaching people. They are bringing in income. I'm not hearing too many churches complaining about lack of resources during this time, because God is touching the hearts of people, and people are supporting the ministries that have meant so much to them in their lives, and now when churches have their service over some of these social media platforms or whatever, they're able to reach, much further than they would reach, having service in the sanctuary. So
Hmm.
those who are able to uh, uh, be creative and dynamic with this, are able to do even more than they ever really even imagined before now. So yeah, it's tough. It's a struggle. It's a big adjustment, for all of us. But it's also a door of opportunity, and
Yes.
it's something to stretch us and to grow us beyond our usual bounds, and so it's still so much in all of this to be thankful for.
That is tremendous. Thank you so much for that response. Um, as I listen to you talk, I'm just jotting a few things down. I don't know if I should ask more about the church you just pastored. Maybe we should talk about that a little bit. So you were there for 42 years
Yeah,
at
42
this
years
church.
from
So talk
19.
about that a little bit to young cats like me who, well, I ain't that young no more, but you know, talk to us. You know, I mean, how do we navigate it? You know, negotiate that platform. You know, what was your success? What was your success?
Well, I mean, the beginning, you know, we started out in 1977.
Hmm.
1977, you know, what's that, 43 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, by the grace of God, you know, I mean, I was 23 years old at the time, and you know, and I heard the talk. I heard, you know, people saying all over the place, you know, I get that boy 6 months, you know. Yeah. And you know, all of those kinds of things. And
Yeah.
you know, but we went into it, you know, just really leaning on the Lord and just believing God, and you know, holding the God's hands through it all, and you know, getting to know people and to love and embrace the people of God. You know, we started with approximately you know, 25 members, give or take a few, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, we saw rapid growth in the church. As a matter of fact, you know, saying we started with 25, I remember on a particular Sunday when 26 people joined on one Sunday,
Wow.
and
That's awesome.
which really meant that we doubled our membership. You know,
Right.
we doubled our
Yeah, I'll take
membership
that.
in one service, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and we
Wow.
never looked, and we never looked back. I mean, it was just within a year's time, or you know, we were you know, over 100 members. Within a few years we were 300-400 members, and so
Mm-hmm.
the growth was rapid, and the Lord just continued to add to the church, you know, as he desired. And I remember once walking through the lower level of the church where our ministers, the Detroit Baptist ministers, used to meet, the Council of Baptist Pastors of Detroit vicinity, walking through the lower
Mm-hmm.
level there. And, you know, my church was growing rather rapidly. And I spoke to a senior pastor at that time. And and I was telling him, you know, what I was feeling. And when I finished, he said to me, he said, you know, what I hear you saying is that your church is outgrowing you. And that startled me a little bit, but
Hmm.
then I had to think about it. And I said, well, maybe you're right. And then he says, well, the thing that you have to do about that is grow yourself. You know, grow yourself as your church is growing. And up until that time, you know, I had not gone to seminary. I had not, you
Mm-hmm.
know, really given myself to, you know, the level of theological education that I, you know, now so appreciate. And so I did. I went back to seminary and I started there, and you know, earned an MA degree in biblical studies, and then continued did my MDiv in religious studies. I mean, just all of this while pastoring, while preaching revivals across the country, while I mean, in the middle of all of what was going on in my life, and then I just was able to see how God was just working this thing, how the Lord was just blessing, you know, all over the place, and all I could do is just appreciate it, because I knew that it was the work of God, and you know, so those years of pastoring and you know, and let me just throw this in there, that some, you know, I went through another period where, you know, I really thought that, you know, the Lord was saying to me in my spirit that it was time for me to do something different, or maybe even to, you know, to accept a call to another
Mm-hmm.
congregation or another city or something of that nature. and I was in revival a particular week in a little town called Elyria, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
uh, at the Mount Nebo Primitive Baptist Church.
Okay.
I'm preaching revival there, and so the pastor there at that time, he said to me one night after service, he says, "Are you okay?" And of course, I'm wondering what he mean by that. I said, I'm fine. Is it? I hope I'm preaching all right, or that I'm doing my job. He said, "Oh yeah, yeah, you're doing your job." He said, "But I could tell that there's something going on."
Mm-hmm.
With you." And so I explained to him. I said, "Hey, I'm just feeling a little restless and feel like maybe the Lord is saying to me it's time to do something different. Maybe I should, seek a new field of labor.
Mm-hmm.
Just go to a new church like that." And I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, "Son, listen." He said, "The Lord can give you a new church right where you are. You don't, you don't have to go nowhere else to
Wow.
have a new church."
Whoa.
And I bring that up because I heard him loud and clear, as if it was the Lord speaking to me.
Come on, Doc.
And by the time I left Elyria, Ohio, went to revival in Chicago,
Lord have
uh,
mercy.
but it continued until by the time I got back home in Detroit, I was able within a matter of a
Mm-hmm.
few months, to really look around and see what Pastor O.D. Battles told me in Elyria, Ohio, because I had a new church right there where I was. And I must say that and I'm not in the numbers or anything like
Like
that,
that.
but I'll say that between every, 5 to 7 year period, it was as if we had a new church, a new
Yes.
ministry that we were laboring with. And so the journey for me through 42 years was never boring. It was never anything that was drudgery. There was never a time that I dreaded going to my church, being with my people, or mounting the pulpit. It was always a joy and a labor of love, and I say that, with no trepidation. That that the 42 years at Third New Hope Baptist Church was an amazing journey. It was an amazing
Amazing.
journey, and I thank God for it.
And that is tremendous. Yeah, OD Battles. So I don't know if anybody has ever heard that in any personal encounter before, but let's be clear that you heard this from Dr. E.L. Branch on the One More Time radio broadcast. And I want to tell every pastor in America that's frustrated, right? Like me, right? You just did something for me, Doc. You think I'm playing, but you did. The Lord can give you a new church right where you are. Thank you very much, Dr. Branch, for that. We appreciate it. You heard him say, "Oh, look at Perk. Oh, you done, aren't you? Finished."
I'm over here
Finished.
shouting because I heard what the man said.
You heard that? You heard that? Finished. I knew it. Look,
I'm
look,
ready
the
to-
hands.
I'm ready to join church, go jump in the bathtub and baptize myself again.
I'm done, man. Good to
That
have you back.
word-
Good to have you back, man.
That word was profound. And Dr. Branch, I mean, you already know how I feel about you and the time that I was blessed to have one-on-one with you. And so just thank you for being you. Go ahead, Kirk. Keep on.
Man, oh, I thought, man, I'm over here. I was trying to call. You know how like you be shouting, right? And then you gotta call. They gotta like fan you down. I'm over here. They're fanning me down. The angel's trying to fan me down right now. The critical thing, and I think that this is one of the things that happens on the show. There's some life moments that happened on the show, and I think that was one of them. I'm not glad we got that archived on the videos, because when I think about the young pastor in Southern California who had everything going for him, and he just took a gun, Pastor Branch, and just put it to his head, and that was it, right? And his wife got on and was like, my give the shirt off his back husband is finally released from his burden. And he was dealing with some things, right? He probably needed some counseling, and, he may have needed some medicine, kind of thing. I don't know how deep that was, but I guarantee you, when we hear, because he wasn't even 40 years old.
Oh, wow.
Right. And he was doing good. He had like a talk show on TMZ, right? Perk, chill, man. Right? Kurt, chill, right? That kind of sage advice, man, might save somebody's life, especially in the ministry, because it's so high pressure. You talked about this notion of giving of ourselves, right? How do you balance that out? How do you make that work for yourself?
Well, one of the things, I was telling you, I do this Thursday night Bible study, and one of the things that I continue to see over and over in the book of Philippians, and we're just on the first 2 chapters, is this whole idea of putting the interests of others above your own. It is what is known in the legal and business community as a fiduciary relationship. Okay. Where your clients' interests are above your own, and of course, when we go beyond talking about the business and legal community, and we start talking about the church and talking about the kingdom of God, that's really what it's about. It's about making the interests of others above your own. It doesn't mean that you don't care about your own interests. You ought to care about the things that are yours to care about. It just means putting others before yours, and that's something that many of us, miss as followers of Jesus Christ. His whole life was about putting others before himself. I mean, the whole piece in Philippians chapter 2, starting with verse 5, where it says, "Let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men, and being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself." That whole thing of humbling himself or emptying himself of himself, is that fiduciary relationship where, and is not until we learn that and really absorb it into our minds and hearts that we could begin to relax a little bit. Yeah. And take some of the pressure off. Yeah. The self-emptying, really puts us on another level. It lowers our blood pressure. It keeps us, healthier mentally and emotionally. When we pour out of ourselves, Paul talked about being poured out like a libation, Yeah. And when we pour out of ourselves, see, I was, raised in Chicago on the west side. Okay. And we lived in a house where we had radiators. Yes, sir. Heat was through radiators, and that steam and water, run through those pipes and through those radiators and heat them up. But one of the things that was on that, each radiator was a valve that was used to let some of the pressure off. you know.
Right.
That when that thing builds up and it's too much pressure, you could hear it knocking, you know, and you
Mm.
would know to loosen that valve and to let some of the steam out, let some of the pressure off. And that's what we all need to do. You know, we need to live in such a way that some of the pressure is off, and that we could operate at a level of peacefulness, centered, you know, in the good things and good virtues, you know, of life. And that's what it's all about, you know. And otherwise otherwise we implode. We are destroying ourselves, you know, from the inside out,
Yes.
you know. So that's what it's all about.
That was tremendous. Pastor.
This is rich, and I had an opportunity to go to the Third New Hope Church a couple years ago, and I went to hear Bernstein preach. Actually,
Yes.
he was in revival,
That's
and
right.
this is one of the things that I loved about the church that Dr. Branch pastored. The atmosphere was, from the time you walked on the campus, you were greeted just like you were the most important person coming to the church that night. I mean, and everywhere you went, it was like, you know, every move you made, someone was like, welcome, welcome, welcome. And, I was very not impressed, but impact
Mm-hmm.
when I came, Dr. Branch. And I'll never forget the experience. Great 3 nights. Even had the opportunity to preach for Glass that Sunday morning that
Yeah.
I came in. But this is what I want to possibly spend some time tonight and hear you just talk about. And we have a little time after we go off the air. But you did something that I very, very already respected you, but I gave you much more respect. You put your hands on Pastor Q and you made
Mm.
him your successor. Just kind of share to the listening audience, one, the importance of a successor, two, when you knew that it was him, and how it helped transition the church with him coming in and you going out. And from what I've seen, the only thing that has really, I guess, given Third New Hope a little unbalanced is this COVID, but nothing to do with the succession nor the transition. But I think things would have continually went even more smoother for him if it wasn't for, and not to say that things been bad, but it just, the COVID has affected everybody. But can you just share the importance of succession, how you knew it was him, and then how you were able to transition smooth? You did it smooth, you know.
Well, I would definitely just really have to start off by saying that all of it is by the grace of God.
Mhm.
We can plan, and but
Mm-hmm.
we know that our plans could bomb any moment, at any point. But we really did do our best to plan and to think things through. I knew 5 years out or more, what my plans were and how the Lord was leading me in terms of my retirement from the pastoral ministry at the point of 42 years. That was, of course, when I would turn 65. I wanted to retire. That's the way the Lord laid it upon. That's the way the Lord laid it upon my heart, and that is what I uh, you know, chose to do, to follow that plan. And so the next thing, of course, was to not just think about what I wanted to do, but to think about what needed to be done with the church, so we knew that we would have to have a succession plan and someone that to be there to take over, once I did retire. And so that's what I sought the Lord about. I really prayed, to the Lord about my successor. I asked the Lord, to, if it was the will of the Lord to have that person with me for at least my last 3 years. That was what was in my head. And then from 3 years out, I wanted to really start planning, and from a year out, we started to get the church ready to start preparing the congregation for the transition. And so we brought the executive committee of the church together, along with a few members at large, and we started to working on it. Now, when I prayed and when I asked the Lord to to send the one who would indeed carry on the ministry upon my retirement, I had no idea, who it would be, and of course, I didn't really feel that I would be quote unquote picking somebody, and I really, even to this day, do not feel that I picked somebody. I feel that what I did was open myself to who the Lord sent, because I asked the Lord to send somebody. And so then the next thing I had to do was to be open to who God sends, and so when I did begin to realize, okay, this is who the Lord has sent, and I'm almost blown away, to know that this was a young man who heard me preach, so many years earlier when he was a boy. And, and for his life to be impacted by my ministry at that stage of his life, I'm preaching revival at the church where he's a junior deacon, you know, and all of that. It's just phenomenal. For my 20th anniversary, we did a little booklet. You know how you do the souvenir booklets and all those kind of things for the anniversary. But we went a little bit further and did another little side booklet where some of the members of the church who were into journalism and all that interviewed me. And in one of those booklets, there's the full interview, and one of the questions that they asked me was about retirement and all those kind of things, and I said, this was for my 20th anniversary. Now, I said, now I don't know what God's going to do, but I believe that the Lord already has somebody that's probably a young boy or girl in church now who the Lord is already preparing, for Third New Hope, upon my retirement. And I did not know that at the time, but that's exactly what was happening. The Lord was already at work on this thing before I was even putting it together in my head, so I just feel that what I did was, what I consider to be, one of the things that the prophets of old would do is that, look, it's not so much about telling God what to do. It's about discerning the direction God is going and then go with God.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And so that's what I feel I did. I discerned the direction God was going and just went with God.
That's awesome. Listen, we need to take a break real quick on the radio. So, Jose, if you don't mind, just take us out real quick and we'll be right back. Kurt, you say it.
Say what, man?
Oh, I didn't hear anything.
Man, hey, look, dude, this is I see so much in this discussion, right? Because, Pastor Branch is like, like we're still on Zoom right now, right? So there is a lessening on your end, right? Do you think that there is a tightening sometimes with pastors when it comes to that? It's like, okay, because what you said was this otherworldly, discerning the direction of God, where God is going, and run with God. And so, your good friend and brother, my pastor, Dr. Albert Bernstein, pastor the Bethlehem Church in Richmond, right?
Yeah.
But his predecessor, Dr. A.H. Newman, I heard him say this one time. I was in my 20s, I guess. He said, Robinson. I said, yes, sir. He said, it's been a long time since the Lord called a pastor to a church. He said, remember that. I was like, okay. I didn't know exactly what he meant at that stage, right? But as I am now in my late 50s, it's like that, it rings true, right? The politics, that we engage in, when it comes to, this level. And, you talk about discerning God. It's like, so that's a good question for some pastors who are thinking the same thing. And I would like to hear you talk about that on the radio. How do pastors get ready for that? Since we down the pulpit so much, I mean, right?
Yeah.
That's where we go. Harmony.
Please join Harmony Missionary Baptist Church for virtual worship on Sunday morning, 10 to 10:45.
That's good. Hey man, you're on mute.
I said, I'm gonna talk to Dr. Branch offline about some other stuff.
Oh, no, dude. I'm gonna talk to Dr. Branch about some stuff offline too.
Well, I will tell you this: he is a great man of wisdom. I had a great time in Detroit sitting down talking with him as people watched.
I'm getting.
Yeah, I was telling my wife about that. Well, not all about it, but
yes, sir.
90%.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the One More Time broadcast. And we're grateful tonight that we're able to come back and share again with you. The One More Time broadcast is brought to you by the Harmony Church, 4113 Telegraph Avenue in the city of Oakland. Let me give thanks to God for another week and to my co-host for doing a great job. That's why you have a co-host. When you got to do what you got to do, things keep on rolling. And unfortunately, one of the members of our church, her mother passed away, Sister Linda Smith. We're praying for you. And I had to just go do my pastoral duties. And so we thank God for that. But I'm grateful tonight to have our guest with us who has been blessing us. I mean, I almost feel like we in school or need to go have a confession time or something. I don't know. But he's just blessing us.
Probably both.
In a mighty way. Dr. E.L. Branch, who is such a gift to the body of Christ. And if you've never heard him preach, shame on you. But he is just a great soul. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have met him personally and had the opportunity to sit with him. And he's really blessing our show on tonight. And definitely when we launch on December 6th, the Perk and Kurt show. We'll be definitely calling him back, and we will be on KDYA. Amen. I don't know if I was supposed to do that, but I did. So,
well. I'll tell you, it's a sad dog that won't wag its own tail. I mean, not unless it got cut off or something.
I mentioned another station, so I'm sorry.
That was quite insightful. No, we
So,
love you, KEST. We love you. We love
yes,
you,
we love
KEST.
KFT. They are
Yeah,
the
but
catalyst.
is a
Yes, it is. They are the catalyst to where we are. We were talking about succession, and there's some other discussion that we'll have when we get off the air for our Facebook family. But Kurt, why don't you go ahead and push that question that you were asking during the downtime? I think that's good dialogue right there. And of course,
Okay.
before the end of this dialogue completely, of course, we'll do the after show. But I would love to hear your thoughts, Dr. Branch, on the election and certain things like that. But I want to definitely hear what Kurt was talking about when we were on break. So go ahead and push that.
Thank you, Batman. So, Dr. Branch, you were so eloquent in your description of your retirement process. However, there is a reality that we have in our pulpits, and that most pastors don't retire, right? Whether that's due to lack of planning, lack of understanding the keynotes of a biblical succession plan. What kind of advice would you give pastors, who are on their way to making decisions about, retiring from the pastorate, but not retiring from the preaching ministry? Could you chime in on that for us?
Yeah. I'll say a few things about that, but I definitely do. First of all, want to qualify because I honor and never would want to, insult those pastors who really through the years not only believe that they are supposed to pastor for life, but were orientated that way. This was all they knew. And for many pastors, the congregation that they serve is all they have. It's their family, it's their livelihood, it's their career. It's really all many of them have. And so I'm very, very sensitive to that. And I do understand that. But in light of that, I want to say to those pastors who do want to retire and who do want to do other things, after a significant amount of time have been put into pastoral ministry, is that it's really about planning. You see, I know that lots of pastors right now today who are retirement age and who really want to retire can't retire because they have not planned it through all of these years. They don't have the financial resources, neither do they have the mental and emotional wherewithal to accommodate such a shift in their lives. When you take a church away from a pastor who's been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years, you are taking away from them um, uh, a mammoth part of their lives. So it takes a lot of work to get there. It takes, a lot of time, a lot of prayer, a lot of preparation. And I've seen it, and I'm sure you have too, pastors who really feel like, well, if I don't do this, what am I going to do? I don't have anything else. I won't have anything else to live for. So retirement for us, and I think particularly for pastors, is really more about having something that you're going to retire to, more so than something you're retiring from.
Yes.
It has to be about more than retiring from my church. It has to be about, here's what I'm retiring to. One of the dear sisters of Third New Hope, came to me after I announced my retirement, and she came to me. She says, I've been wanting to retire from my job, for some time. How do you know when it's the right time? And those were my words to her. You'll know it's the right time when you've put something together to retire to.
Mhm.
And it's not just about what you're retiring from, And so for me, EL Branch Ministries and being able to do some of the things that I've always wanted to do, to be able to come and to spend time, of course, when we get beyond this pandemic, be coming to spend time, with guys like you, which is something that,
Yes.
that you hardly get a chance or hardly get an opportunity to do. So, it's really about the preparation, and the planning. So when I talk about EL Branch Ministries and the conferences that we want to do, the seminars that we want to have, the sermons, the Bible studies that'll be going on, now, and into the future, into times to come, that is an amazing part of planning and thinking things through, so that you're not just hanging yourself out to dry or
Mhm.
feel like you're just being ran off in the pasture, like a thoroughbred or something that has been written and used and now is done. No, it's not like that, and it's not about that. It's really more so about what are you taking steps into. What does the future holds for you beyond what you've already done.
That's great. That is great. Um, you talked about this knocking, so I guess that will apply to what you just said. You talked about the valve, that we have, right? Um, and so I guess that's a piece of it. Guys hear that valve, they don't hear it. They hear the knocking, they ignore it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? What would you say to that, to those who ignore the knocking?
Well, I do a whole piece on clergy self-care. It's really about us, taking care of ourselves, and
Yeah.
and when we take care of ourselves, we have more to give to ministry, and we have a healthier approach, to ministry, healthier mentally, emotionally, physically, and otherwise,
Mhm.
so that we can do that because life comes with pressures, man. It's just you're gonna deal with things, but the old saying is that it is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
And because all of us, we when you already stretched as far as you can go mentally and emotionally, and then the slightest thing happens, you already pulled like a rubber band to the extent of your elasticity, and the next move is a snap.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people are. That's where a lot of preachers live, right at that point of tension. And so it's about taking
Wow.
care of ourselves, so that we can accommodate the vicissitudes of life, without being stretched beyond our capacity.
That is tremendous. That is tremendous. Talk about the physicality. Hey, did you hear me, Perk, talk about the physicality that he
Wait,
brings
let me say
to the
this.
game? Yeah, please say something, because if you don't,
Listen, what many may not know, Dr. E.L. Branch will probably outrun all of us.
oh yeah. Good
I mean,
segue. Great segue.
bruh man,
Tell him.
if I'm not mistaken, have done decathlons and Superman swim, run, bike.
Is it true, Doc?
But
Is it true?
You see how rumors are. You see how
They just scared of you, Doc. Don't worry about it. They just scared of you. They just scared. Oh man, he ran the decathlon, man. He was the Superman triathlon. Oh, they scared, Doc. They scared. Don't mess with him. No, but he brings a great piece of physicality. Talk about that a little bit, Doctor. I thought you was. Thank you, Dr. Batman Perkins. That's on point.
That's my
Listen,
That's it. I honestly,
I've been running, for years, in terms of personal exercise and all that. I run. Now I run and I walk and I run and I walk. I put it like this: I run till I feel like walking, and I walk till I feel like running. And so usually it's a good mixture of the two. I'll do anywhere from 3.5 to about 5 miles, each morning, and it's been a part of me really since my teenage years, and so it's just something that I do. I study Ishinryu karate. The word Ishinryu just means close in fighting, where we mostly use short punches, elbows, knees, and all of that kind of thing. And so it is a major discipline, and it is something that learning and doing is a part of your physical exercise and being and all of that. And I think all of us need that. All of us need a certain amount of exercise, a certain amount of personal discipline when it comes to that. And and I usually would, under normal circumstances, there'd be 3 or 4 half marathons, that I would run each year. 3 or 4 half marathons, and which is a lot of fun, and it's like I say, we can't really do them now in person. The last one that we did. I did the last one back in February, and then I did a virtual half marathon in September, which would have been at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, which we would go there every year in September for a half marathon. And but this time, the virtual half marathon, you can run it anywhere you want on your own, and you just give them the time. Just report in your time for the race. So but that's something that I've just been doing, for really about the last 15 to 20 years or something. And so I enjoy it, love it, and it's just like I say, it's part of me by now. And so the whole thing about keeping your body in shape, doing the best you can. You can't. Some stuff you can't help. Some stuff you can't help. You can't help getting older, But there are other things that you can help.
Right, right. Hey Kurt. Don't you sense like a pastor's retreat or something with him being the keynote speaker?
Yes,
and just like challenging us to get our pastors to get ourselves together. And I mean, and the cool part about it, he can do it intellectually, physically, spiritually.
Right. Yes.
And then violently.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now, dude. Ishinryu karate.
Some stuff you got to get knocked into.
Basics. He's showing the little short punches like, cheer.
Yeah.
Well, look, we got 5 left. Got 5 minutes left on the radio show. And so, Kurt, if you would give, some closing words, then we'll let Dr. Branch close some words on the radio show. And then we'll keep going when we get off.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Perkins, for having the confidence to let me open up today. So that was my first time, Dr. Branch, opening up on KESTradio.com, 1450 on your AM dial. Man, listen, it was fun. Just awesome preacher you are. I'll be glad when Bernstein or me or Perk bring you back here to the Bay Area, right? So you can like shut it down, spiritually, intellectually, and trust me, ladies and gentlemen, he is from Chicago. He can do that thing, brother. He can do it. He can do it. So, feeding every Wednesday, 2680, 2680 64th Avenue on Oakland, California, on the corner. Start at 8 o'clock, over about 12. Come out there, get some food during this pandemic. Lord has blessed us. Come get some fresh veggies. That's all I got for you. And then to see you, Faith Church, on Tuesday, Friday prayer call, Wednesday Bible study, Sunday morning exhortation, and Momentum, a stewardship idea every Friday at 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We got some good business stewardship rap going too. Thank you. Love you, Dr. Branch.
Dr. Branch, if you would, to our listening audience on the radio, can you just leave them? We have about 2 minutes left on the radio. If you could just leave them a word of encouragement to those that are listening on the radio, and I think that'll be a great thing to do.
Well, what I'll do with that 2 minutes is talk about responsibility. Okay. It's living life is about living responsibly. Taking responsibility for what's yours, to manage and to guard. The Lord places people. He gives us relationships. He allows us opportunities to manage resources and all that. And what we should do is be responsible. But on the other hand, we cannot take responsibility for what's not ours to control. Much of the anxiety that tears us apart and tears us down as people, individuals, is when we are attempting to take responsibility for things that are beyond our control. This pandemic, for example, none of us can take responsibility for it, but we can live in it responsibly. Meaning wear your mask, maintain social distance, so that you are doing the responsible thing, so that we can get through this, and that we can get through it alive and keep our family members and friends and other people that we care about, keep them well also. So it's about responsibility and managing the resources of our lives responsibly, and making sure that we are not taking responsibility for things that are out of our control. That's where Paul says in the Philippians, be anxious for nothing. I mean, don't you dare worry yourself sick, worry yourself to death over things that you have no control over. So that's my encouragement to those who are sharing this time with us. And I pray that God's continued blessing be with it. And let me thank both of you, Pastor Perkins and Pastor Robinson. You are Christian gentlemen par excellence, and your conversation and the time that we've shared has been enriching for me. And so I thank you for the invitation to come and to share and to be a part of this. And even though you're called Batman and Robin, I do want you to know that I appreciate being with you, and hopefully we'll be sharing together sometime soon as well.
That's great. That's great.
That's awesome. Listen, that's been our time. And again, thank you for your time. And y'all catch us next time. God's blessings be upon you. One more time, broadcast, Harmony Church, 4113, Oakland, California. Jose, take us out.
All right. I can hang the phone up.
Yeah, you can hang the phone up. Just stay on Zoom.
Bam. Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Branch, yes. I may be Robin, he may be Batman, but trust me, you are not the Joker.
Not the Joker. So where we are now, Dr. Branch, this is the after show where we take questions from those that are listening from the Facebook audience. The Lord has just breathed on this ministry that myself and Robin are doing, and we will be going to a wider and bigger station starting December 6th, and it'll be called the Perk and Kirk Show. And so we'll definitely be calling you prayerfully if your schedule permits to come back and share on that also.
We'll make sure that it permits.
But this is the raw,
Awesome.
the raw and uncut version. And so there's always one question that I ask leading into this after show. And prayerfully, you won't get the Shane Scott Award. I don't know if you know who Shane Scott is.
Yeah, I know Shane.
Oh, so you probably already.
He's not gonna get the Shane Scott Award.
So the question that
That's it.
Question I always open up with during this raw and uncut time is how do you feel about a preacher pastor that does not preach or mention anything about social justice at all?
Well, I would just almost have to ask, where do they live? What planet? That'll kind of be my first question is, what planet do you live on that but we're laughing about this, but right now the state of the evangelical church,
yes sir, yes sir,
I mean, it's just puzzling. I mean, you're looking at a major section of the Christian community that don't know the difference between the flag and the cross.
My God.
Yes. Yep. That's it.
And so this I mean, it's really major. It's a challenge, and during the struggle of Black folk, in America, it is just amazing how silent the evangelical pulpit has been.
So right
on these issues, and so that is a very serious thing now. But if by chance you were referring to African American preachers, I would just have to ask that question. Just tell me what planet you live on, and I'll just know not to take a spaceship to that planet.
Perkins always does this, Dr. West. You know what's interesting? Now let me jump in. Let me do this real quick. You can go next, right? Okay. Because what happens, you'd be surprised, Dr. Branch, the sidestep we get on that. And it seems to be regional. Don't you think that, Pastor Perkins? Yes. There's like a regional fixation. Yes, so if you're like from a certain area of the country, you might let me shuffle on that one. All right, but I'm just telling you, right here on this show.
We've had some interesting responses to that question. That's why I ask it. I said I'm gonna ask it to everybody I talk to, because
flag and a cross, Brooklyn Nelson.
Yeah, that was great. I want to flag. I've definitely. We want to highlight what you have coming up on the 16th and 17th. I want you to talk about that soon. I'll flag it. I have the poster, the flyer. I'll pull it back up. You have something coming up, but I want to share this picture because I don't think a lot of people know how gifted you are, and I just want you to tell me when I show this picture, the first thing that comes to you.
Oh Lord,
Dude, where you
man.
where did you get that from?
Some people
Dr.
don't
Branch, did
know
you know
that
he had
Dr. Branch is a great musician. Great musician.
Wow.
But is that you, Dr. Branch?
Well, that is me.
Okay.
Doc, you look like you getting it. Is that the choir director? Man, shoot.
Where is this at?
That's the fact that's in Chicago. That's at the New Mount Sinai Baptist Church on Laramie Avenue and Fulton, 310 North Laramie.
Do you remember that service? What you were playing?
I don't think I remember the service in particular, but I do remember the setting. And I remember
This is
people
great.
who were in the background. I remember as well, and I certainly remember that Hammond organ.
Doc, you look like you got game, man. Look how he's sitting, Perk.
Yeah, he
look how he's
he
sitting,
don't have
man.
a smile on his face. He looking like, but look at the director though. They must have just stopped or in between or something. What key are you playing in? Can you see it?
Oh, man, I don't.
Dude, no, Doc, you look like you getting it. Like, yo, just give it to me. I got it.
Well, we would have a whole lot of fun back in those days, man. It was really a major time, in my life and in the lives of most of the people who you see there, who are part of that church.
Wow.
Now,
what year is that?
It's probably around 1974, I would say 1973, 1974.
Wow. That's amazing. Now, how did you?
That's rich.
How did you playing evolve? I know you said you started preaching at 16. Which one came first?
Well, playing the piano and the organ. This building that we're in at 310 North Laramie, we entered that building in 1969, January of 1969. We moved from a storefront that was located at 3642 West Roosevelt Road, a little storefront where the church had been since about 1955. So at that little storefront church, I was the janitor. I used to clean the building. I used to get paid for it too. I got the hefty salary of $12 a month.
Wow.
For cleaning
Wow.
the church in that little storefront at 3642 West Roosevelt Road. But during the time I was the janitor, we only had a piano, and sometimes while I was supposed to be cleaning up, I would be picking on that piano, hitting keys and and all of that kind of thing. And it was there that I really started to play the piano. And then later, when the church did acquire an organ, I was the first one to get on that organ and to teach myself to play the Hammond organ. And so by this time, after we had moved to Laramie, I was the organist for the church, and stayed there. I would, even after I began in ministry in 1973, I was still the organist until 1975 when I got married. And then moved to Detroit.
So when you move to Detroit, is that when you joined New Bethel?
I came to Detroit as the assistant pastor of New Jerusalem Baptist Church with a dear friend of mine, Reverend Lawrence London. I came as his assistant, and it was no more than maybe about 6 months later, after coming to Detroit, that I left New Jerusalem and joined New Bethel Baptist Church with Reverend C.L. Franklin. Uh, the the New Jerusalem Baptist Church at that time became New Jerusalem Temple and left the Baptist denomination. And so I decided to, to join another Baptist church.
Got it. Well, you've mentioned the great name, and we would both be remiss if we just didn't ask at least what was it like sitting
Doc.
under, I'm not gonna say Aretha Franklin daddy, but what was it like sitting under Dr. C.L. Franklin, the great preacher I mean, just from a preaching perspective, what was it like to hear that every Sunday?
Well, the thing is, when I went to New Bethel, Reverend Franklin was, yeah, I mean, definitely larger than life. And one of my friends told me when I joined the New Bethel Baptist Church, one of my friends, the late uh, Reverend Herbert Wilson, out of Detroit, he said to me, "Man, why you don't join there?" He said, "He'll never know you there. He'll never know you there." That's what he told me.
Mm.
But I joined New Bethel, and I had already, been acquainted with Reverend Franklin. He knew me, I knew him, and we had, other mutual friends between us as well. But when I joined New Bethel, it was not 2 weeks. It wasn't 2 weeks didn't pass before he called me and asked me to come preach.
Wow.
And man, I tell you, the whole experience was just unreal. And when I went and I preached at New Bethel, the very first time I preached there, um, and Reverend Franklin got up behind me, and he said these words. He says, "I thought this preacher had just started preaching." He said, "But I can tell he's been preaching a long time." and uh, and then he went on to to compliment my preaching, and I mean, I was just floored. I was just floored. But as you can imagine, it was life changing for me.
Yeah.
And that time in my life was a very critical time as well. And um, and so it was the kind of encouragement that I needed. And so, I shall never forget, what he meant to me, very early, and not to mention the years after that, the advice that he gave me along the way, because um, uh, once I joined New Bethel in 1976, it was just a year and a half or so before I was called to Third New Hope. And when I was called to Third New Hope, I had told, uh, well, I went to Third New Hope first as interim. Uh, they didn't call it that. They just called it pastor in charge. And so I had to get permission, from my pastor to do that. And so he told me what to do and how to behave and everything else like that. But when I was called to Third New Hope, though it was a very small church, Reverend Franklin expressed such pride
Mm.
and all of that, and it just so happened that the last church he was in was Third New Hope
Wow.
before he was shot. You know,
Wow.
and so the whole thing of him pouring into my life and being able to to work with him, to walk beside him, to sit in his office, to hear his remarks. And I tell preachers all the time that I watched everything from how he sit in the pulpit to his preliminaries, you know. I mean, everything. How he would just make his expressions, how he laugh, anything he would do, anything he would say. I watched it. I watched it. So close, just to because I was so honored, being around him. And now I was not around him in his prime when he was, 40, 45 years old. But neither was he an old man. He was not my age. He was, Reverend Franklin was 59 when I met him first, and my years of working with him, he was in his early 60s.
Okay.
And of course, he was shot. When he was shot, he was just 64 years old.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
wow. I have another one I want you to take a look at and tell me what it is. You can expound on it.
Yeah. Well, the musician, the organist, but that's late Elijah Searcy, who was my childhood pastor. Elijah Searcy, pastor of number 2 New Mount Sinai Missionary Baptist Church,
Number 2.
310 North Laramie Avenue, Chicago, Illinois.
They put numbers in front of it. Number 2.
Huh?
I said they put numbers instead of greater and greater than. They put number 2.
Number 2 New Mount Sinai. So I was the organist, and what they would do, like I told you, when we were in the storefront, I used to get paid $12 a month for the janitorial work. But as a musician, we didn't get paid because you didn't take money for your gifts.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
You didn't take money.
Uh-huh. Did we just lose somebody?
But what they would do is that once a year, they would have what they called an appreciation program. And so what I would do is they would sit me in a chair in the corner somewhere and let people, express their appreciation. And so then this
that's what's up.
Elijah Searcy giving me the gifts of the people after such an appreciation program for my playing for a year.
For a year.
Okay.
But I mean, you had a job then.
Yeah.
That you weren't like most musicians is going from gig to gig.
Man, you just right. That's why I said.
During that time, I was working a little job, and I'd make a little money. I had 2 jobs. The first one, I made $1 an hour, and I worked 20 hours a week. And then the next one, I made $2 an hour, but I worked 40 hours a week. And once they took out taxes, sometimes I'd take home $64 after a week of working. So
wow,
those were the years.
Yeah, they were. That's what gas must have been like. What, 25 cents a gallon back then? I can remember in the 70s.
24, 27 cents a gallon, and $1's worth of gas take you a long way,
man. Wow, that was something else, man. Perk, you dangerous with the pictures. You're not gonna do me like that one day, are you?
Oh, I'm waiting on the day to get you. Don't worry. It's coming.
Come on, man. So I'm gonna ask a question. Huh?
It's coming. Don't worry. All right. Ask your question, man.
Man, I'm not gonna ask this one. No, I'm gonna ask this one because Doc was on something on this one. You said you found it to be confusing, the state of the evangelical church, right? And then you talked about religious nationalism. Well, I would term it religious nationalism. My friend Brooklyn Nelson, I know he's gonna try to preach this. I already feel it in his spirit talking about the cross and the flag. Right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I heard Jim Jeffries, First Baptist, Dallas,
Yeah.
just laud on Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's fair to ask you this question, but I want to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Where has the evangelical church lost its unction? Or do you believe it's lost its unction?
I won't say that I have even the words or intellectually or philosophically to describe what the evangelical church has lost. But Dr. Dan Hawk, who is a fine brother, amazing Christian, he's a professor, Old Testament at Ashland Theological Seminary. But he really talked in a post that he made recently about all of those evangelical quote unquote prophets who predicted a win for the current president, and who are now at a loss for how to explain, what has happened. And so they continue to lead this charge that the election has been stolen, or that there was some sort of voter fraud or something, because they have no other option but to make what did not turn out the way they said it would appear to be satanic. It's got to be, something wrong if their predictions did not come out the way that they said they would. When the truth is that the American people has spoken, they voted, they made their decision, and they've chosen someone other than the person that these so-called prophets, predicted would win. And so this whole thing is a blow to the heart of the evangelical church. Now, all of us know, we can go way back where we talk about the moral majority and, all these other groups and stuff like that, as to how they feel about, certain things in this country, and the only reason that we had 45 in office in the first place was because of the backlash against the Obama administration that they had to endure for 8 years. So this puts all of us, in a precarious predicament, because this president, just happened to represent the kind of personality that these folk who are scared to say certain things, put him out there to say them, because he's fool enough to to do certain things. He has the guts, to do what many of them wish they could do, and to say what many of them wish they could say. So thus he becomes a representative personality, for that spirit, that exists in this country. But it all boils down to really white folk who are afraid, that they're losing power, losing ground, and all the rest. I mean, and while that is exactly what's happening, it's no need for anybody to be afraid. We've lived in this country, for all of these years, now. Black folk have lived in this country for all these years now, and we ain't afraid no more. you know, we ain't afraid of nothing no more. And so there's no reason for anybody to be afraid. If black folk ain't afraid, ain't no reason for nobody to be afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's just we've just got to work through what's going to happen. But my fear though is that as long as the evangelical church is able to operate without a conscience and to continue to stake their claim in this pseudo Americanized religion, it's just heart wrenching, and it doesn't leave a lot of room for any healthy hope, for us making very much progress, in the coming decade.
Mm.
That's rich. Let me give a shout out real quick to I think they just launched tonight. Victor Glover, Black astronaut that'll be the first Black sleeping in the space station sometime tonight. I think that's a great accomplishment. I really do.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I think they just launched rather recently. It was a good launch. The spaceship taking off, and he'll be the first Black to have stayed in the space station.
Okay.
I think that's a good thing. I have another slide I want to share, and if you would expound on it, this is coming up soon.
Soon and very soon, tomorrow.
And to our listening audience, we want you to support this. Support this, especially those preachers that are watching. This is a good investment. Go ahead, Dr. Branch.
Yeah, this is developing your preaching ID. It's as it says here, knowing who you are, how you show up in preaching, and key insights to presenting your authentic self to God and others. The whole thing is that we happen to have a lot of preachers who really don't know who they are. And then there's others who are really honestly reaching to find their own voice, their own identity, their own personhood. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. And I while my area of passion is preaching, it's preaching itself, but I don't think that preachers can get to the actual work of preaching and get there effectively until they know who they are, and so we're going to be talking about that and sharing, numbers of stories and ideas and dealing with, steps to actually knowing yourself and knowing your own preaching ID.
I definitely will be joining in on definitely Monday. I may miss Tuesday because I'll be preaching, but definitely Monday. But anything that I see Branch on, I think is worth the while. Dr. Branch, if you would, and this is a kind of twofold question for our listening audience out there. Who we know who you sat up under, as far as the late C.L. Franklin, but who were the preachers that I heard you mention the other pastor? Who were the preachers that shaped, molded you, and then the preachers that you enjoyed possibly hearing? And then like for you, for me, when I hear you preach, you make me think, and it's almost like you're challenging me with my intellect, where I have to think with you as you preach. although you make it plain, but I'm also trying to say, where is he gonna go next? You know, and so I'm challenged by you. You challenge me in my thinking and in my worship of and just the mechanics of it. What preachers did that for you? What preachers did that for you? And then if you could recommend 3 books, what would you recommend for your favorite, I guess, and then for right now? So what preachers shaped and molded you that you loved, that kind of challenged you? And then if you could recommend 3 books from the past and 3 books present.
All right. Well, of course, not all of this is tall order, but let me go for it.
You got it.
Let me just go for it. Well, first of all, coming along, even in my youth, Elijah Searcy, the pastor of New Mount Sinai, the Reverend Elijah Searcy, was actually the first preacher that I, really came to know and came to, hear preaching and to understand what preaching was under him. A strong preacher who was definitely dedicated to the pastoral ministry and to his pulpit. He was an amazing guy. Listening, back in those days, we used to listen to Reverend C.L. Franklin over the radio, and then we started to acquire some of his albums. We're talking about on wax. Back then we would have his 33 RPM albums, and of which I still have I still have them, all those albums. And so I would hear him. Of course, he was, for me, a preacher who was a distance away, basically untouchable and all those kind of things. But I would hear him. There was another preacher during my childhood. His name was the Reverend John Henry Lane. And he preached revival for our church, for our little church, many years. And he was the one who I would say provided that level of inspiration where I began to feel attracted to the whole concept of preaching, the Reverend J.H. Lane. Then moving to Detroit, being near Reverend Franklin and all of that, that made a difference as well, because being near him, I wanted to be, where he was. Sunday night broadcast was, where I was expected to be, because Reverend Franklin would be there. And so his preaching, his words, his mannerism, everything else, greatly influenced me. And then the next greatest influence on my life was the Reverend Dr. Samuel DeWitt Proctor.
Woo!
And that was my guy. And so,
Yes,
so the strongest influences in my own personal preaching and pastoring ministry was Reverend C.L. Franklin and the Reverend Samuel DeWitt Proctor. Those two,
Wow.
which I think most influenced my life and my ministry and my preaching. And so I consider myself to be, humbly, a combination of those two preachers. But there's so many preachers, right now, that I'm blessed by, that I enjoy, that I am inspired by and receive from. But for me, Dr. Bernstein is my guy.
Yeah.
Alvin Bernstein.
Where is he at?
When it comes to mounting the pulpit,
In Vineland Park.
that's my guy.
Yeah, we gotta get him. I have.
He's been on the show.
I'm glad you mentioned Bernstein because I have a story about Bernstein and Proctor.
Oh,
So
okay.
Oh,
I
really?
had my first church that I pastored, Tabernacle Faith Church, San Francisco, 12 years. And so it was this guy who used to be, man, I guess he was with the Black Panthers or something. But he was like, Pastor, I want to give you some books. I said, okay, yeah, man, I love books. So he brought me one book by Proctor and another book on Black theology, something like that. And so I sit it in my office, right? And Bernstein comes to preach for me. He says, I knew you were a sharp guy, but I ain't never seen nobody have this book in your office. He said, I've only seen this book in two people's office. Your office and Dr. J. Alfred Smith. And I was feeling like this big because I'm like, please don't ask me about the book because I ain't ready. I ain't read it yet. I ain't read it yet. And so I was so convicted that I hadn't read the book. I picked up The Substance of Things Hoped For by Proctor, and my life has not. If I would have read that book in high school, I would have went to Virginia Union for sure. Hands down. Hands down. But it was so funny. I was like, he got in the pulpit talking about your pastor is a sharp guy. I saw these two books in his office. And I'm like, don't ask me about them. I haven't read them yet. I haven't even opened it.
Wow.
but I have much respect that Samuel. I mean, I really wanted. I haven't experienced the and I know possibly you probably have. If that was your guy, because doesn't he have a conference or something every year in his name, or a proctor or something like that?
Oh yeah, the Proctor Conference that is actually sponsored by Jeremiah Wright.
Okay.
He and Dr. Freddie Haynes
Okay.
came together. Of course, now it's under a board of directors and all that, and an executive director who runs it and everything. But the Proctor Conference is every year in February.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last maybe just over 20 years. Yeah, it's been going on, and that is named in his honor.
Yeah, I'm making my kids read that Substance of Things Hope For.
Yeah, Substance Thing Hope For.
You're making them read it?
It's powerful, man. Oh my God.
Yes, Substance Thing Hope For is an amazing work, and much of what Proctor would do. I've kind of read. I read every year The Certain Sound of the Trumpet
Okay.
by Dr. Proctor, and that is
You
one
read
of
it every year.
Yeah, I read it over every year. Every year I make it my business. I mean, and then I'm always, if I do a lecture on preaching, you're gonna hear something from it. If I teach on preaching, you're gonna hear something from Certain Sound. If no matter, I mean, but I still will open that book and read it every year. I read that. I read Langston Hughes, The Best of Simple. The Best of Simple. It is his caricatures of a person that he calls Jesse B. Simple. Jesse B. Simple, and it's just little short articles that Langston Hughes would write for the Chicago Defender, which was a black newspaper, and so an editor just grabbed numbers of those articles that Langston Hughes write and put them together in a book called The Best of Simple, and that's one of my absolute favorites to read, and it's another that I read just kind of basically every year. Then I do enjoy.
Wow.
I do enjoy.
I see it. Yeah.
Like now there's a little book I really enjoy. It's a business piece, but Marshall Goldsmith, who's kind of a personal you know, just a personal coach for, you know, Fortune 500 CEOs. Marshall Goldsmith did a little book called Triggers, and in it is just some amazing stuff. And I enjoy that book. I enjoy that book as well. It has, you know, just been a blessing to me, and it's one that I, you know, um, refer to quite often. And then Dr. Frank Thomas's The Choice. You know, if you haven't read that one, um, you know, and of course he's talking a lot about a number of things in that book, and then he has a number of sermons in there. But I really would have called that book um, "Living from the Inside Out,"
Hmm.
because he really deals with that whole concept of living life from the inside out rather than from the outside in. He tells about his journey with the uh, with the church that he retired from in Indianapolis, the Mississippi Boulevard Baptist Church, the
Wow.
Mississippi Boulevard Church.
Now, have you had any aspirations, or have you put paper to pen yourself, Dr. Brand?
Well, you know, I repent every month or so,
Dude.
you know, because I have three pieces that are, you know, that are right now almost at the point of completion,
Right.
and haven't done, you know, what I need to do. And one of the young ladies that's working with me to get two of them done, you know, she's in Detroit and I'm in Chicago, and we you know we get together, you know, over the phone or whatever every now and then. But because of this pandemic, we just haven't been able to get back to it the way that we wanted to. We wanted it to have wanted those two to have been published by now.
Uh,
But we're gonna. I'm hopeful that we'll get them done, get them completed soon. One is in the, you know, stage just editing and getting it, doing those final things to get it done.
That's great. Looking forward to that book. So I want to ask you this question because I see a pattern here, and it looks like something I'm going to adopt to myself because I have read The Sound of a Certain Trumpet, the certain sound,
Yes, certain sound.
the certain sound of the trumpet. You know, I mean, of course, you know, your man, Dr. Albert Bernstein, taught me this model after he demolished the previous building that I had built.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think that's an issue with that model. Matter of fact, somebody stole my book. I bought it again. I know who you are, right? Because he was hating on me, Perk, because all we was talking about was the model, the model. Bernstein introduced us to the model because it's so consistent, you know, in its approach, right? But here's this pattern. I said, why do you read a book? You know, why do you read that Proctor book every year? Is there something that you didn't get out of it before that you? I mean, is there a pattern behind that? I mean, what is
Yeah,
that?
you know, the thing about all of the thing about us as, you know, I think as human beings, you know, is that number one, we do read and we don't see everything. And
Okay.
and then secondly, uh, we need constant reminders. It's a matter of simple discipline and structure, you know, to our lives, and that's what I need. And so therefore I try to do things in ways that provide that structure, you know. And that book, yeah, I get something, you know, every time. I mean, every time I read it, it's like, now was this in there last time I read this, you know?
Wow. Okay.
It's like and it also,
I'll
you know,
read it tomorrow. I might start
huh?
reading it again tonight.
Yeah, the book is so dear to my heart until I mean, there's portions of it that I know by heart, then there's other portions of it that's kind of like a rose bush. Every time I go back to it, it's a new bloom on it.
Got
You
it.
know, and so that like the books that I enjoy, you know, I keep them near and I read them.
Good. That is great. That is great. What do you got to say about that, Perkins? Did we lose somebody else? Did we lose somebody? It's an inside joke, man.
Hey, a preacher that don't read is sad. That's all I can say. It's
We
just sad.
just lost some. I'm just joking.
Well, let's see if we can bring some folk back.
All right, yeah.
Let's see if we can bring some folk. Let's be kind. Let me see.
Oh Jesus!
Perkins pulling them out.
What year is this, Dr. Branch?
Man, I mean, you know,
You never smile too.
it's hard to say. I mean, back in those days, that was done by a professional photographer, and I think that was one of those eras of time, you know, where you know, a certain look.
Yeah, your fro is on point, Doc. Your fro is on
Bible.
point.
He got the Bible in the hand. You see the Bible right there.
I see that.
Yeah. Yeah, and the pocket puff, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I see that. I see the cross
on the lapel.
Yeah.
He got the cross on the lapel.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is this style is back. The vest.
Yeah.
That style is back now.
Oh yeah.
That's not a full vest. That's
Doc going, oh yeah. Doc, you have always looked erudite, dude. Always.
Let me get a man some love on tonight, you know, because he been gracious to us, and our time is getting ready to come out.
That cross on my lapel, I wore that cross. That one was a gold cross and 14 karat gold.
Oh wow!
That was from the very beginning of my time in ministry.
Is that the same cross right there?
No, well, it's a different cross, but it's a cross, and that's what I was going to say. I wore that gold one for a good number of years, and this one that you see on this now is the one I wear. And Pastor Tellis Chapman and I were in. We were in Detroit. We went to a jeweler.
That's a preacher
and
too.
We
got for real.
And we got the jeweler to make us 14 karat gold crosses with diamonds.
Oh wow!
And so he and I wore those. You know, we were the only ones that had that cross because we, like I said, we had them specifically made for us. And then there was one more preacher, the Reverend Dr. Ned Adams Jr., who's deceased now, but he pastored the True Faith Baptist Church in Detroit. And he was a dear friend of both of ours. And we had him one made when he earned his, just after he earned his doctorates from Ashland Seminary. And we were all, the three of us was that close. Matter of fact, Tellis Chapman, his nickname, his family calls him Ted. He's called him Ted. Ned Adams was Ned. And then, of course, Edward Branch, I was Ed.
Ted, Ned, and Ed.
But we were the only three had those crosses on our lapel. And then, of course, now, of course, I see large numbers of preachers, you know, across the country with, you know, their own version of these crosses. But
I was in their left pocket. They lean like this because it's so heavy. Well, Dr. Branch, it's been rich. I mean, it's been a joy, and I know it's late where you are. Kurt, you got anything else you wanna add or ask? I don't have no more. I don't have no more pictures. I promise.
You know,
Yeah, I'm glad.
dude. I know, man. I'm about to go like, okay, all right. What you got, man? What you doing, man? Well, you mentioned something about touch, right? And I wrote it down. This is in the first part, and apparently you think that the touching fellowship piece in the church is potentially therapeutic. Now you notice how I'm putting that, right?
Yeah.
It's potentially therapeutic. And I said that because your boy Bernstein got on the show. We asked him and how he's doing. He's like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm an introvert." You know, I don't like it.
I don't need to be I don't need to be
You know, it's just like, right. But that's my pastor, man. But what is that? Do we miss it when it comes back? Will it add another dimension to our worship character or our Christian character, the touch?
Well, yeah, I think I think the one of the principles of our faith is touch. You know,
Okay.
we are people who are connected, and the particular the connectedness is demonstrated probably that's through touch, you know, through our handshakes. I mean, the Bible is particularly in Paul's writings and Peter's too. You know, there's this whole reference to the kiss, to the holy kiss. You know, Middle Easterners, you know, do in fact believe in this whole thing of the holy kiss. You know, of course, in more Western culture, that's where the handshake, you know, comes in. But I mean, and even us, you know, among African Americans and African American men in particular, you know, we took that a little further. We take that handshake and then we pull a brother in.
Mhm.
You know, we give them that brother kind of hug. You know, that
Right.
it's a one shoulder hug. You know,
Right.
but all of it is about touch, and I think that we are better when we are touched and when we touch others. And and uh, and while we're talking about the physical part, and that has meaning, but it's only an extension of that emotional need that all of us possess. Yeah, you know, there are plenty of people who are introverts and who do just fine, you know, when they are off to themselves or whatever. But introvert or extrovert, it's important that that we are touched. And as I mentioned, you know, earlier, that in this time when it's prohibited, is it only makes it you know, as it is for most other things. When it's prohibited, you know, it makes you want to do it more. You know,
Right.
you
Yeah, I
want to
love what I can't touch.
that's right. We love what we can. And so, you know, so now it's like, you know, make you want to hug people more, but you know you can't. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah. But that whole thing of touch is just so important. I think it is, and it's been proven. I can't recall at this moment the particular study, but even with babies, with children,
Yes.
you know, that
Right.
they are better when they are touched. You know,
Touch.
they, you know?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was great.
Well, blessings on both of you, and again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this and to share in it. And like I say, you blessed me too as well.
Well, we appreciate
Amen.
your time, and hopefully we can get you back on the West Coast when you start traveling again. I know you 1 week you in Dubai, and another week you in Bora Bora. You know, enjoy.
We good. We good.
You good?
That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
We good.
Well, I pray you have a great rest of the year, Dr. Branch. You know, on behalf of the Perk and Kirk Show, we pray you have a good rest of the year.
I mean, that's. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, you can say it now, right? Huh?
Yeah, we can say it now. Yeah.
KDYA. But we love you, KEST. We love you.
Look. I
Be careful,
lied.
Dr. Branch. We might be coming to your city.
Right.
Hey, that's all right with me.
Chi-Town. What you think about that, Perk?
Right.
Chi-Town.
That'd be nice, That'd be cool.
Yes, indeed.
I love
What's up,
Chicago.
Marvin Wiley?
That my boy is there. I love Chicago. That's I love
That looks great.
Look at the thing already, man.
hey.
Ready, go, ready.
Perk and Kirk show, so
You got a
December
Facebook
6th,
page already? Oh, let's go.
we just
Instagram. I love it.
So you'll be hearing more about it to our listening audience. We're grateful to God He's breathed on us. And we're expanding. We expanded to the top Christian radio station here in the Bay Area and KDYA. So we thank them for the opportunity. We'll start December 6th at 3:00 on Sunday. Since we're in a pandemic and ain't nobody having no more afternoon services, you'll be sure to listen.
You're gonna, hey, and Dr. Branch, we cool with it too. People will think that our first guest might be a preacher, right?
No, don't tell them. Don't tell them.
Well, wait till you see a flyer. You're gonna be like,
yeah, we keep a
they
good
keeping it
variety.
Real.
A good
They keeping it
variety.
Real.
All right, you're gonna keep me in suspense.
Now we don't have to wait on this one.
Line.
It'll be announced next week.
All right.
But I'm gonna see you tomorrow. I'm a register, man, for the conference.
Yeah,
all right,
I'll be doing the same thing also.
Yes, sir.
Sure. And so for those that are the listening
Thank you
audience
so much
that are listening, we appreciate you for coming on tonight. And don't forget to support the conference that Dr. Branch is doing on the 16th and the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. Please support that. I think you'll be blessed, especially preachers and pastors. This is definitely something that you want to invest in, and it's only $20. You can't even go eat food for $20 these days. So,
I know some guys can. Right at Jack in the Box, they'd be glad. And you need to stay. I almost said his name. I ain't gonna say it.
Spiritual food and invest in this conference in the middle of the afternoon, which would be good. November 16th and 17th. And he has his website, EL Branch Ministries, on here. And we also want you to be a blessing and subscribe to his YouTube page. Yes, that's what we want you to do too. Subscribe to his YouTube page, EL Branch Ministries, so he can get those good subscribers up to a nice amount and get that own personal URL. We know how it works. So and that'll be a good thing. But Dr. Branch, thank you again so much to you and your family. We pray God's blessings be upon you. And we hope that in the future that your schedule will permit you to come back and share with us again when we get on the other radio station.
All right, great. Looking forward to it.
All right. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much.
Is it snowing in Chicago yet?
Huh?
Is it snowing in Chicago yet?
No, ain't no snow yet.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully it'll hold off for a little.
It's
all right.
on its way.
All right, Pastor. Have a good one. And blessings on you.
All right, be good.
God bless.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, Robin, I'll holler at you.
All right, my man.
Okay.
I'm out. Lasagna.